All right, welcome back to It's Not a Sport, episode 10. A lot of somewhat good news this week. Not really, I wouldn't say good, but a lot of interesting news this week. We're going to start with esports, as we always do. Moving on with LCS. So, there's still playoffs. I believe the LCS playoffs will be in St. Louis. So if you're in that general area, you can buy tickets and watch TSM and Team Liquid play. But in terms of who won, I believe, last week's games, Team Liquid beat FlyQuest 3-0 and TSM beat Cloud9 3-2. In Europe, it'll be Origins versus Fnatic. G2. Wait, how does that work? This has to be a mix-up. Okay, because it says in the semifinals. In the semifinals, it's Origins versus Fnatic. But in the quarterfinals, Fnatic won 3-1 to Splice, and Origins lost 0-3 to G2. So it should be G2 versus Fnatic, unless there's some tiebreaker bullshit. I don't know. That's weird. In LCK, SKT beat Kingzone in their semifinals. And, and in the finals will be SKT versus Griffin. Is there a drag over? Yeah, okay, then it says to be decided. Okay, yeah, so actually in Europe, I don't know what's going on. That's weird. In China, however, Invictus Gaming versus Top Sports Gaming and JD Gaming versus Fun Plus Phoenix will be in the semifinals. And then the finals is yet to be determined, and third place is also yet to be determined. I'm still just not over that EU thing, because that's just really weird. In terms of the Overwatch League, of course, as we are recording this, as always, they are currently playing. So it's Los Angeles Valiants versus Atlanta. They are the ones that are currently playing. But in Stage 2, top of the leaderboard, New York Excelsior, followed by San Francisco, followed by Vancouver, then Chengdu. I feel like I'm butchering that. London Spitfires, Los Angeles Gladiators, Boston, Paris, Philadelphia Fusions, Dallas Fuel, Houston Outlaws, Toronto Defiant, Hangzhou Spark, Los Angeles Valiant, Seoul Dynasty, Atlanta, Shanghai, Ganggu Go Chargers, Florida, and last place is Washington. In terms of game releases, not a whole lot of game releases. A lot of game releases will come the last 2 weeks of April will be the two major ones, with Mortal Kombat 11 and as well as Days Gone By. But in terms of what's coming up this week, Anno 1800 is for PC. We get Final Fantasy X and X2 HD Remastered for the Switch and Xbox One. Tanks Meet Zombies for the Switch. Wasteland 2 for the Switch. World War Z for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So, not a whole lot of... nothing really to look forward to. So, in terms of news, because there's a lot of small pieces of news that have come out and just mean a lot, I think, and they're things to look forward to. Apex Legends, they're testing punishment for frequent quitters. So if you join a game and then you quit, and then you join another game and then quit, there's probably going to be like a leave buster system where you get banned out of like a certain amount of time or something like that. What kind of happened with Apex is it released during a time frame where Fortnite was kind of dead content-wise. It was in a drought. So a lot of people then went to, play a new Battle Royale, which is Apex. So then Fortnite got its new season update, and everyone kind of jumped back on the Fortnite hype train. Then they did some changes, and they released the Battle Pass, which was apparently god-awful. Like, you have to play every single day in order to, fill out its requirements. And then the game kind of died down. I think it's still up there, but it just hasn't gotten as much publicity or news as any other games. Overwatch, again, is having their Rise and Storm event April 16th to May 6th. And there's going to be some sort of lore mission with it that seems to tease something with Reinhardt. There's a teaser of it up on Twitter. You can go check it out. Guild Wars 2, one of my favorite MMORPGs. If you are ever trying to get into that genre of game or just want a casual MMORPG, go for Guild Wars 2. ArenaNet does a fantastic job. It's one of the only few good games that are actually published by NCSoft that I would actually go recommend you play. ArenaNet just had massive layoffs, so they're actually kind of, going through a little bit of a tough time. But Guild Wars 2 is a fantastic game. The base game is free, so you can go try it, and you can play the base game for free as much as you want, and then after that, you have to buy the expansions. If you want something a little more hardcore, and if you're leaving WoW, then Final Fantasy XIV is probably a better place, especially with the expansion coming out in July. But back to Guild Wars, they've been kind of teasing because of the layoffs. It's been delayed. Usually every 3 months they release their new Living World update, which is the big, somewhat story update where we get a new map and new items and new story, new content, etc. And since the layoffs that happened earlier this year, that's been delayed. But they've been teasing the finale of Living World Season 4, I believe. After the last Living World, which if you haven't gone back and seen it, I think you definitely should play it, because it was honestly a surprise to me, the ending. It was a huge surprise, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do in the next Living World, but they are adding a new flying mount. So this flying mount, it was teased, there's a trailer about it. It flies, it's supposed to work as a helicopter, where it flies up, and it basically gains altitude, and then you can you can hold on to walls with it, and then gain more altitude. Why this is kind of interesting that they're adding this mount is because there's already a flying mount, the Griffin. However, the Griffin is locked behind a somewhat expensive in the game paywall. It's not super expensive, but it takes a little time to grind out that amount of money to get the Griffin. But the Griffin is more like a jet engine where it just goes super fast. So it's interesting that they would do this move, because I think they needed to do it for the story. But I hope that it doesn't make the Griffin irrelevant. But I don't think it will. I think it will actually, probably the two will complement each other, where the Griffin actually has a skill where you can hop on it in midair. So you can go to your dragon mount, the new dragon mount. You can gain altitude with it. You can hopefully you can hop off of it, right, in midair. Get your Griffin, and then you can be at the top of the map and you can just soar. That would be so cool. That's what I would want to see. So it complements both, where if you don't have the Griffin, that's okay. You still have the dragon mount, you can still explore the sky. But if you do have the Griffin, then you can explore the sky, but at a faster rate. So I really hope that's what they do with the flying mount. Some cool science nerdy news too. That kind of, I'm sure everyone has heard about. The first picture ever of a black hole was shown. It's somewhat cool, but it's also kind of cool that like we got it right. I wish they were able, because we're technology is so far behind from this. I wish they were able to actually get like an actual video of it in action, but being able to actually see what an actual real black hole looks like is pretty fucking cool, because we only had movies and fantasy games and whatever, and that's pretty spot on what a black hole looks like, to be honest. But seeing what it actually looks like and the red around it, which is just gas from the star, is really fucking cool. So, also, Fortnite, back at it again. A couple days ago, they released the latest patch, and it sparked a lot of problems in the game. A lot of bugs happened, like ghost bullets, and now like traps, which I believe they patched today. Traps would be like in the walls, so you couldn't see them. And a lot of competitive players are mad. And the reason why I'm following this story is because it's interesting. Fortnite is at its top. It's at the top of the competitive gaming market. It's what everyone's looking at. It's what everyone's looking forward to. It's at the top, and it's having one of the most expensive esports competitions in esports history. $30 million. The closest we've come to that, I think, is like 21 million with the Dota 2 Invitational, and that's mostly crowdfunded. But this one is Epic hosting a $30 million competition, and they keep fucking up their game. And a lot of the competitive community, a lot of competitive players are really fucking pissed, because it's hard to... it's the problem that League kind of ran into. And I think League had this different, separate issues, I think. But when they keep changing the game, it's becomes problematic. And so, like, Epic, we've seen this kind of before, and, everyone's kind of seen it before with their management of Paragon and how they manage the game and how they just want to push content over quality. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this develops up until July, when the tournament's actually held, whether the game will crash and burn, or they'll actually fix up and focus on the game. Because a lot of problems that we see with these competitive video games, like League of Legends, like Overwatch, like Fortnite, is who's your audience? Is your audience the casual player? In that point, do you want to push the content or the quality? Or is it more a competitive community and diehard players, where you want to push balance, quality of life, bug fixing over content, etc. But then you actually enter another realm of difficulties, where if you're in the realm of competitive, who are you balancing and who are you making the game for? Are you making it for the top, the best, the fucking best, like League of Legends kind of does with LCS and, the World Championship? Or are you making it for everyone else who wants to play the game competitively, like all the solo queue players, which they obviously, in my opinion, do not? You're making it in that for them. So a lot of questions Fortnite needs to answer, and I think they need to answer it fast, because if you go on the competitive Fortnite subreddit, they're fucking pissed. And eventually, after I think this $30 million championship, if it's not fixed by then, they're gone. Another small news that I kind of wish I covered earlier, but Bless Online, an MMO, may be closing soon. Yeah, okay. I never played. I think maybe I played Bless Online like maybe once, but it's sad to see games go. But games like that, if they don't have a consistent audience, especially MMO, which is like the horror genre of video games, essentially, it's just hard to tackle. And if it's not working, then it's not working. Sekiro difficulty talk. I kind of want to lay my opinion on it. So, if you didn't know, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice came out last month or so. Yeah, last month. And there's been a lot of talk where people got on the hype train and they realized that it's somewhat of a difficult game. And people have been calling for an easy mode. Now, let's just get this out of the way. Me personally, I think that Sekiro does not need an easy mode. It's actually, by default, I think a pretty easy game. It's a game that's just like life. The more you try at something, and the more you fail at it, the more you learn and the better you get. I have gotten somewhat semi-stuck on bosses. I'm on the final boss right now, and I know I can beat him. I know how difficult he is, but I know the more I try it, the more consistent I get, the more I learn how he operates, the better I am at adapting to the situation, and the easier the game gets. And that's the entire point of From Software games. You're supposed to die to learn from those deaths. And it's one of the games that I actually enjoy that philosophy and actually works. A lot of games you die, do it again, and then you succeed. And you generally get it on your second try. But this game actually takes time where you have to reflect on that death and realize why you died in order to overcome the challenge. So I do not think it needs an easy mode. I think that everyone needs to calm down. I think that if you're having difficulties with the game, look up a guide. There's resources out there to help you, just like with any other game. Take your time with it. Take it slow. Keep on trying. It's not like the game is going anywhere. And when you defeat it and defeat the final boss and beat the game, you're going to feel very, very rewarded. Just as I was when I defeated the optional boss, the Demon of Pain, who's very difficult. I think he's somewhat difficult. But after maybe my 20th or so attempt, between 20 and 15 or so attempts, I eventually got him. So that's my take on that. I don't think it needs an easy mode. But, if you want to cheat, go ahead. You want to be the first. I do it at Borderlands. That's a little different, but fuck it, dude. Go for it. So, we also have really big news regarding PlayStation, and that is that you can finally, as of later this week, you can change your PlayStation name. You no longer have to be XX Pussy Slayer YYZ or Youngboy 225 or Greg 6798 or Jackson, etc., blah blah blah, etc., whatever. You can now change your name through your PS4 or through the web browser. You cannot change it through PS3 or PS Vita. And the first change is free. After that, it will cost $10 or $5 for PlayStation Plus members. Now, be warned, alright? There are problems with changing your name. So the first thing to understand why these problems exist is because generally, when you make an online account and you type in your username, right? It generates a random set of numbers or variables or letters or whatever for your account, and that's your account number, your exclusive ID to that account, and then you have your username, right? So no matter what your username or display name, you can change that. Your account name does not change. That's how actually League selects it. If you didn't know how pick order goes in League is that you have your set number, profile account number, and then depending on that number with everyone else on your team is where you're placed. Which is why if you play with your 5 or 4 of your same friends, you're always placed in that same spot. Right? So that's generally how when you make an online account works. PlayStation, however, for some reason didn't design it like that. So your actual name is your actual account, which fucks up a lot of things, essentially. So, what does it fuck up? Let's just go over the questions. Will my friends be able to find me with my new ID? When you change your online ID, you will have the option to display your old ID next to your new profile for 30 days. This will make it easier for your friends to notice your ID change. You can only select this option at the time you are changing your online ID. So, okay, cool. How many times can I change my ID? In general, there is no restrictions to the number of times you can change your online ID. Can I revert back to my old ID? As long as the old ID doesn't violate the terms of service, you can revert back to any previous ID connected to PlayStation support. Do I have to pay to revert back to my old ID? No, it is free. What happens to my old online ID? Can someone else take it? No, your online ID is only available to you. So, still just good kind of basic stuff. If I change my online ID multiple times, can I revert back to any of my past? Yes, you can revert back to any of your previous online IDs as long as those IDs do not violate terms of service. How many times can I revert back to the old ID? In general, there's no restrictions to the number of ID, blah, blah. Can any account change their online ID? Child accounts cannot change their online ID. Do all games support online ID change? A large majority of them, so this is really important. So a large majority of most played PS4 games that we tested supported the feature. We recommend that you check this list, which we'll be going over in a couple seconds, before you make an actual change. PS3 and PS Vita games are not supported. Okay? So the list, I'm probably not going to go over the full list. But games with known issues, right? 7 Days to Die, Assassin's Creed games, Batman games, Battlefield games, Call of Duty, Dead or Alive, Destiny 2, Dishonored 2, Doom, Dragon Ball Z Fighters, Dragon Age Inquisition, EA Sports games, FIFA games, Final Fantasy games, especially the Rome Reborn Online 15, Hitman, Horizon Zero Dawn, Injustice, Infamous, Just Cause 3, Just Dance, Killing Floor, Knack, LA Noire, all the Lego games, Life is Strange, Madden, Mass Effect Andromeda, Metal Gear Solid 5, Middle Earth, Monopoly, Mortal Kombat, NBA, No Man's Sky, Nier Automata, basically fucking everything, honestly. Overwatch, Overcooked, Persona 5, Payday 2. So, Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, and 7. So, I'm gonna stop right there, Rocket League. So, there's a lot of games that have known issues. Games with identified issues, such as the Dark Souls series, God Eater, Killzone, Naruto games, Titanfall 2, Uncharted 4, Warframe. And then games with some critical issues. Little Big Planet 3, Disc Jam, Just Cause, MLB 14, The Show 16, and The Show 15, Onrush, The Golf Club 2, and Worms Battleground. So, what does this all mean? it means that there's a lot of fucking games that if you change your ID, that they can just mess up a lot of games. You can lose your save progress. You can lose microtransactions or in-game pushes or in-game purchases. You can learn like all sorts of progression. So a lot of shit is fucked up. However, anything plus April 1st of 2018, I think is safe. So definitely before you do it, before you check it out or change your PlayStation ID, go on the PlayStation blog, look at the article, look at the games you play, look at the side effects, and then decide what you want to do. Because it's definitely something I think you should think about. The last and final piece of news that I want to talk about, today in Chicago, I didn't go, but the Star Wars Festival is happening, and they announced the teaser trailer for episode 9? Or is it 8? I think it's 8. Episode 8 of Star Wars. It's called Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, I believe, in the trailer. Quick thoughts on it. I'm not impressed. I'm not really excited. It looks exactly like the same formulas they've been using for Force Awakens and Last Jedi. It looks horrendous. The title, in my opinion, is horrendous. I think it's going to be another flop, honestly. I don't think it's going to reignite any Star Wars fans, diehard Star Wars fans at all. It's just, for me, as a diehard Star Wars fan, who, own and watch all the Star Wars movies, watched all the episodes of the Clone Wars, and all the episodes of Star Wars Rebels, who've read the books and the comic books and played the games, etc. It just doesn't ignite, that spark of, ooh, Star Wars. It's not. So, I think it's dead. I was hoping, since they kind of took a couple years off since the last Jedi, to really think about what they wanted to do, since so many people hate that movie, and I'm pretty sure this petition to remove that movie from being canon. I was really hoping they took a step back and understood what the people want, what the people like, and really use that well for the Star Wars film. But based on this teaser, which is like, it wasn't even a teaser. Like, a teaser to me is like 30 seconds. This was like a good 2 to 1 minutes. It just didn't look interesting and didn't provide anything. They say, of course, this is going to be the last one. Really, I got nothing to say on it. I showed my dad it. He was also like, just didn't look interested in it at all. So, that's that. The other piece of Star Wars news is that a game that I thought actually died, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, got a teaser on Twitter. It was just like a logo, really. You're supposed to be playing a Padawan after episode 2. I believe was the news. A little background with this game. It was announced really fucking out of nowhere at last year's E3, I believe. So they just kind of went up to the guy in the stands, or in the where like everyone was sitting, and was just like, "Oh yeah, you have a Star Wars announcement." He's like, "Yeah, we're making a Star Wars game, but there's no logo, there's no anything of solid proof." It was just like, "Oh yeah, here's the name of this new Star Wars game we're making." And then I'm pretty sure there was a report of it getting canceled, but apparently I was wrong, because this game's back from the dead. So that basically concludes our show for this week. The Star Wars news, I think, was a surprise, very random. and kind of somewhat of a disappointment. A lot of the Guild Wars news is really exciting. Next week, we'll be talking about Mortal Kombat and Days Gone By, since those games will be released the week after that. The PlayStation news was super exciting as well. Thank you for watching this week's episode of It's Not a Sport. You can find all of our past shows on our YouTube. Make sure to check out the website at itsnotasport.com. You can also find all of our audio shows on, the latest up-to-date shows on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, and that's it, I believe. Follow us on social media, on our Instagram. Make sure to catch us every Friday, Central Standard Time at 7 p.m. on Twitch, where we stream the show, so you can come watch the show live, ask me questions, and hear the latest and greatest on all the news and everything esports on It's Not a Sport. Thank you for watching. Hope you're having a wonderful